guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today in this video, we're going to be learning about ratios, because we can see ratios everywhere in the world. We can see it when, for example, a car goes at 24 kilometers per hour, or for example, if we go try to bake something and there's like on the manual or on the guide, it tells you for every 2 cups of flour you're gonna have like, I don't know, 5 liters of milk, something random like that. Or even we can see it very well in shops where it says like buy 1 get 2 free or buy 2 get 1 free. Well, that's also a ratio. So we're going to be covering what ratios are and how we can use them and all of the core functionalities of a ratio. And I'm sure that after this short lesson, you're going to be able to know everything about ratios. So let's go right to the video. So now guys, let's get into the actual math of ratios. So first of all, what is a ratio? So a ratio in basic sense is when you have a number to the left which correlates to the number on the right in some way. I mean, we have many representations, but the usual way is that we have 2 dots, like a colon, 1 up, 1 down, and on the left of the 2 dots, we have a number and another number on the right side. And so the number on the left and right side, they have some sort of connection between each other. That's what makes it a ratio. Also, a ratio not only has a connection, but you can also represent it as a fraction. How? Well, we already learned that percentages have a connection with fractions, right? Well, same thing here. Because when you write a ratio, like let's say I have 2 apples, 2 dots, because this is the correlations. The 2 dots is the sign that we put, which we call a column, to show that it's a ratio. So let's imagine the 2 dots, aka the symbol which shows us that it's a ratio, is 2. Whenever we say a ratio, we say a number to another number. That's the connection, okay guys? And so we can represent it in different ways. We can write 2 in words, TO, or we can write 2 with 2 dots. We can represent it with 2 dots, which we call a column. Or we can even make a fraction where the first number which is also a number on the left side, is the numerator, and the number on the right side here is the denominator. And so there are many ways of representing a ratio, which make ratio really interesting because of like the creativity that you can put in the actual representations. So you would usually use ratios, I mean you could use them everywhere, but in day-to-day life you usually use them either in like shops when you get an offer like 2 for 1, like let's say I buy 2 apples, I get a free apple. Ratio sounds hard when, I mean, definitely sounds hard once you hear about it for like the first time in your whole life. But trust me, once you start learning about it, once you start applying at school or whatever or wherever, it's really gonna become easy. I mean, from this video, I think you're already gonna master it, guys, because of your fast-paced learning, of course. But yeah, it's really simple. Okay guys, and now that we understood a bit more of what are actually fractions, let's actually cover some problems. So problem 1 that we are gonna solve, guys. So let's solve this. The ratio for apples to oranges in a basket is 3 to 5. If there are 15 apples, how many oranges are in the basket? So this is where ratios comes into place. So, I mean, one thing I also want to tell you guys, just like a fraction, the order matters. Because 2 quarters and 4 halves is completely different, just like a ratio. But anyways, back to the topic. Let's solve this problem. It's telling us, since there are 15 apples, like how many oranges are in the basket. So the ratio is 3 to 5. Apples to oranges. So that already tells us the order. It tells us the number on the left side, which is 3, represents the apples, and 5, which is number on the right, represents the oranges, because it says apples to oranges, aka 3 to 5, okay? And that's the value, okay? That's the value 3 to 5. But since now we have 15 apples, we're gonna try to use it as a formula in a way, you know? In algebra, when you have values like x, y, or z, or any value really, this can basically have a little connection if you already have some experience with algebra. Basically, a ratio is like a formula in a way. In a way, you can use ratios and scale them to fit your problem. Like a formula, right? Like, let's say I have x plus 6 equals like whatever value, okay? It's just like a value in algebra where the value of x can be defined and scaled into many different ways to be represented in many different values. So like, for example, here we have 3 to 5, okay? That is the ratio. Left, this is apples, and this is oranges. Since we have 15 apples now, we know that number on the left is going to be 15. 2, well, that's the number that we're looking for, right? Or 2 to the number of oranges. Since the number of apples changed from 3 to 15, because 3 to 5 is the original ratio, now we have 15 apples, which means that we multiplied the original ratio by a certain amount to get to 15 apples to a certain number of oranges. Which means that we're just going to have to do 15 divided by 3, 15 apples divided by 3 apples, which tells us how many times we scaled the ratio to get to 15 apples. 15 divided by 3 obviously is 5, well, 5, yeah. Which tells us that we scaled 3 to 5 times. We scaled it times 5, okay? Which tells us that we're gonna have to do times 5 both numbers on both sides. So 3 times 5 is 15, like it said, 15 apples, and 5, which is the number of oranges, times 5 is 25. So using the ratio that the problem gave us, which is 3 to 5, we found out how many times we scaled up or how many times we multiplied the same ratio to get 15 apples. And then with that number that we found of how many times we scaled it, we multiplied the number of oranges by that number to find how many oranges there are in this new scaled ratio, which we scaled up 5 times. Okay? I hope that you guys understood this. I'm really trying to go in detail, but let's go over like 1 or 2 more problems before we wrap up, because this seems to be really easy for you guys, which I suppose. If it's not, no big deal at all, guys. I should definitely recommend you rewatch the video. I really recommend asking your teacher if you have some doubts and if I'm still not able to answer those questions throughout the video. Okay, problem 2. Simplify the ratio 24 to 36. Well, same thing. This is the same thing as saying 24 divided by 36, or 24 is a numerator and 36 is a denominator as a fraction. How do we simplify a fraction? Well, if you guys didn't watch the past videos about in math, or if you still don't know what a fraction is, I definitely recommend you guys to watch that, because if you already watched the video, this is perfect. Or even if you just have prior knowledge about fractions, I'm sure you would understand everything what I'm saying right now. But if you still have some doubts, I would definitely recommend you guys to watch those videos. So yeah, so let's simplify the ratio 24 to 36, or aka 24 divided by 36. So how do we simplify this fraction or ratio? Really easy, guys. Where we learned this, just find the GCF, and that number is the number that we're going to be dividing the numbers in a fraction by. So yeah, you know what to do, guys. So let's just divide this 2, 12, 18. Okay, now we can divide this again by 2. So yeah, I'm not really finding the GCF, guys. If you want, you can do the GCF, but then when it gets harder and harder, actually it's gonna be better if you find the GCF once the number get bigger. But I prefer doing step by step, like by the smallest numbers progressively. So yeah. Anyways, we simplify that to 6 to 9. We can divide it by 3, so we can do 2 to. Oh yeah. So I found 2 to 3 or 2/3 as the simplified fraction. So let's see if that's correct by trying to see how many times we should do 2 to 3 to get 24 to 36, to see if this is actually correct. So let's see. Okay, this is correct, because I found out that 24 divided by 2 is 12. 12 times 2, which is 24. And I also tried to do 3 times 12, which is 36, to find out that my simplification is correct. So you see, guys, we simplified this quite easily, and we found out that 24 to 36, or 24 divided by 36, or the fraction 24 to 36, is also equal to 2/3, or 2 to 3, which is really useful to know, because once these ratios or even fractions get more complicated, you definitely want to know how to simplify them. And so yeah, guys, I think that honestly you should get the hang of fractions. I mean, if you're already good at fractions and a master at fractions, I'm sure that this would be really easy for you guys. But just in case, if you still have doubts, I recommend you rewatching the video or even asking your teacher. I'm sure it's gonna help a lot. But yeah, I hope they understood, and see you next video. Bye.